All right, what up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of the I Got Next podcast. I am your host, Darnell. Solo dolo, Mancow's not here. It's just me. Just wanted to go ahead and put this video out. It's Easter weekend, so probably not going to get together this weekend with my boy to go ahead and shoot another great NBA podcast episode for you. But I am here just to go through the teams that I think are going to make the playoffs, in my opinion, and the teams that have the most pressure. So the players that have the most pressure, the coaches that have the most pressure, who is going to be feeling it throughout the playoffs if they don't perform. But before we get into it, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Myself, Mancow, make great NBA content for you to enjoy on a day-to-day basis. So please go ahead and tap in, hit that like button, hit that follow button, follow us on all the socials, all that good stuff. We'll get to all that at the end. So as the NBA season is winding down, I could not sit and not make a video this week about the playoffs and who's going to make the playoffs, but also who has the pressure to perform in the playoffs. So we have, do you need to win a championship? Do you, which obviously that's everybody's goal, but the teams that need to make it at least to the finals, the coaches that could be under fire if they don't get to a certain point, the players who can start feeling some pressure from their fan base, from their team, from their teammates, so on and so forth. And of course, the domino effects that could happen in the offseason if these certain teams don't get it done. So let's go ahead and get right into it. Let's talk about the Oklahoma City Thunder. Now, in some of these, and I'm going to obviously the caveat, the best case scenario for all these teams is going to be win the championship. So let's just push that aside. Obviously, that's the goal, but let's talk about what could happen if they don't make it to the second round, the conference finals, so on and so forth, if they get swept, things like that. And there's also going to be some teams in here that are just house money. Like no matter what outcome they come up with, it's okay. Whether they're a young team, a team that's just getting here for the first time getting put together, dealing with injuries, what have you. There's going to be some teams in there that kind of have an excuse if they lose. But starting with the Oklahoma City Thunder, I kind of think that Dagnall has a little bit of pressure. I think that the fact that this team, and I haven't seen a couple people talk about this, but the fact that Dagnall has 14 guys that you could roughly say should be getting minutes for this Oklahoma City team in the playoffs. Jay Will, who's been coming off the bench, shooting the ball great. Obviously, Caruso, Dort, like their main starting lineup. But then you got guys like Aaron Wiggins, you got Isaiah Joe, Jared McCain. Like there's so many guys on this team. And I'm curious to know if Dagnall is going to hit the right button at the right time. I know this is a well accomplished team, obviously winning the championship last year. So they should be battle tested, know what to do in those situations. But I'm curious to know when guys are struggling, will Dagnall be able to hit the right buttons at the right time? For the most part, I would say this is a house money kind of team. No champion, no previous champion has made it to the conference finals since the 2019 Warriors. So I think there's a little bit of pressure on Dagnall and the Thunder as a whole just to at least get back there, which I honestly don't think will be a problem. But they got to get at least back to the conference finals. If they didn't make the finals and they got knocked out by the Spurs, maybe they just ran into a good team like the Nuggets, who's playing much better now. I think we could get past it. Obviously, they'll still get roasted for having the season that they had, having Shea win an MVP and then not make it back to the finals. But once you get that far, anything can happen. Any team can beat you. Every team is good enough to beat you. It's not shocking. Like I said, depending on who they lose to, that would be more important to me if I wanted to judge them. But otherwise, I think they're good as long as they make it back to the conference finals. Next is going to be the San Antonio Spurs. Now, the Spurs, again, built-in kind of excuse. This team has never been there outside of De'Aaron Fox, Luke Cornett, Harrison Barnes. Like there's a couple guys here and there that have gone far into the playoffs, won titles, but all in all, this is a very new and young team that has not accomplished anything. I would say the pressure. I don't think they really have any pressure. Like I said, house money team. I think they just shouldn't lose in the first round, which they really shouldn't, based on who they could match up with, whether it be like Portland or Phoenix or the Clippers. There's really no excuse for them to lose in the first round. But if they lost to Denver, Houston, we're going to talk about the Lakers in a second. If they lose to any of those teams, it's understandable. A lot of those teams are a little bit more battle tested. It would be fine. Slight disappointing, but I think all in all, to me personally, I don't know how you feel, but personally, I would be okay if they lost in the second round and we move on to next year where they can build on the season they've already had. All right, next up, the Los Angeles Lakers. Now, I'm shooting this as of Friday. You're watching this as of Monday. So in the past, I found out about the Luka Doncic injury maybe like 3 or 4 hours ago, and kind of had time to think about what the Lakers should want to do, where the pressure lies. And before the injury, I was thinking more JJ Redick having 250-win teams, and if they lost in the first round, second round, that would be a disappointment. I think at this point now, the Lakers have now turned into a house money team. You got 42-year-old LeBron, you got Austin Reeves, and you got like guys like Marcus Smart, DeAndre Ayton. These guys have been playing above their head for the last couple of months and really having to do with Luka and on the backs of Luka. And also shout out to LeBron for taking a back seat and being a third wheel. But now LeBron has now moved up the rung. Now there's a second best player on this team to Austin Reeves. And now you got to go into a playoff series with maybe Minnesota or Houston or somebody like that. Now without your best player, Luka's pretty much going to be out for at least a month. That would take you at least to the second round. The Lakers are going to have to make it that far for Luka to even have a chance of coming back. So prior to the news, I was thinking JJ Redick would have the most pressure. Again, 250-win seasons back to back, and you come in and if you lose in the first round, second round, I think that would be a disappointment. Now at this point, if you make it to the second round and put up a good fight, and let's say Luka is not 100% and you got eliminated, I think you get to kind of play the excuse game. We didn't have our best player. We lost to a team that just was playing better at the time. They built in excuse already now. If they lose in the first round or second round, I think they're kind of off the hook. Next up is the Denver Nuggets. Here, the pressure to me lies with this front office. Trading away or trading for Cam Johnson and trading away Michael Porter Jr., does that come back to bite you? This team has been kind of up and down all season. I know they're starting to hit their stride now. Defense is still a little iffy. Jokic is still having MVP type numbers. You got Jamal Murray, who's an all-star, Aaron Gordon, who missed a bunch of time. So, like, there's excuses built in as to why, if they do lose, why they lost. But at the same time, you traded away a guy that could have helped this. I mean, that starting five last year was fantastic. And then you traded him away for Cam Johnson, who just now started to get his stuff together. Granted, it did help you get some other depth pieces that helped you out in January when Jokic was out. But at the same time, if you get knocked out by a Minnesota in the first round, or if they don't move up and they lose to Houston or some team like that, I would consider that a disappointment no matter where they finish. Now with the Luka Doncic news, this is one of your better paths of getting to the Thunder in the conference finals to try to get a shot at going back to the finals. That's another team that's ahead of you that most likely, I mean, theoretically, there's like 5 games left for each team. You should move ahead of, and you avoid the Thunder at least in the second round, where right now in the standings they were 4th. You can move up to 3rd and then try to get to the Thunder in the conference finals. Take on a younger Spurs team in the second round. That could work out better for you. If they get up to 3, I think the pressure goes again to this front office. Maybe it's a coach. I don't think the players really have. I mean, again, injuries left and right. They've gotten it back together now. But the front office is going to start feeling some pressure in the offseason to make a move because Jokic is not getting any younger. And the Thunder aren't going anywhere. Luka's not going anywhere. And Wemby's only going to get better. So I think the front office is going to start feeling some heat after this series. Next has got to be the Houston Rockets. I think Houston, I've said this in multiple videos. If you follow me on TikTok, if you followed me on shorts here, if you've seen any of those, when I've talked about the Houston Rockets, I really feel like they're going to make a move because they kind of have to. With Kevin Durant, the window is kind of halfway open, even though you're kind of young, but you got an older best player, 37 years old. I feel like they might want to capitalize on that this offseason. But at the same time, again, the Luka news kind of spreads all the way down to the bottom of the Western Conference. If the Rockets are able to get now into the second round, that would kind of alleviate the pressure that I think is going to be on Ime Udoka and the front office of the Rockets. Ime, to me, has the most pressure in this scenario now, especially with the Lakers being depleted to some degree. This offense has just been bad. This team has not been great, especially when KD is off the floor. Şengün has not had a great season. He's had a fine season. Amen Thompson, who I think, for the most part, in all NBA spaces, I would say before the season, everybody thought Amen Thompson would start to just ascend to a different level. And I feel like he's been good. He's been really good. It's not to even like to shit on him a little bit, but he's been good, but not spectacular. And I think that's what we were all expecting. So Houston now with a favorable matchup, if you end up running into the Lakers in the first round, you have no more excuses. I know that you lost Fred VanVleet. I know you lost Steven Adams. At this point, if you play the Lakers, especially in the first round, I think a lot of people like myself thought the Lakers would smack the Rockets because of how that baseball series they played a few weeks ago, and the Rockets had no shot. If you end up playing a team like the Lakers now without Luka, you better win that series. And if you don't, there's going to be even more questions about you. Now moving on to probably the most interesting team to me in the Western Conference, the Minnesota Timberwolves. The person I think that has the most pressure, Chris Finch. Chris Finch easily has the most pressure, probably in the whole entire Western Conference. You make it to back-to-back Western Conference Finals. In all honesty, I would have never picked them to make back-to-back conference finals, and they did. But they haven't played well in either one of those opportunities to make it to the finals. So Chris Finch, the Minnesota Timberwolves are now in the sixth seed. It's going to be a daunting task to get through all the teams you got to get through to get to the conference finals again. But at the same time, it feels almost to me, and this has been something that goes on in sports all the time, kind of similar to the Knicks. Like, you could make it to the conference finals. I think that would be okay. I just don't think that just getting to the conference finals is going to save your job. I think the only way Chris Finch survives this season is the Timberwolves make the conference finals, and no matter who they play, either obviously getting to the finals would be great. But if you have to lose, let's say it's to the Thunder, can you go out in 6? Can you go out in 7? Can you at least put up a better fight to show that you're close? Because if you look at the rest of this team and how they've gone through this season, they've had their ups and downs, but they were also sniffing around Giannis. So even the front office has kind of told you this roster is not good enough to make it to the finals. Now we're here. You're the sixth seed. You have one team that's depleted with their best player. You have another path of getting back to the conference finals. You got to get back there. You cannot make it just to the second round. You can't just win a round and be okay. They got to make it to the conference finals, and they got to put up a better fight. Otherwise, I think this roster is probably going to change. This coach is going to change, and the atmosphere in Minnesota is going to be completely different. Next team here in the Western Conference is going to be the Phoenix Suns. This is a house money team. Going to not spend a whole lot of time on them. I think the Suns have had a great season, considering where a lot of people had them. The Suns have won 42 games already this season, again, as of Friday. I think no matter what they do, it's fine. You're running into either the Spurs or you're gonna run into the Thunder. Hey man, just let's have fun, right? If we're Phoenix, let's just have fun. Nobody thought we'd be here. Let's just have a good time. We made the playoffs, great. And then lastly, I'm gonna talk about the LA Clippers. The Clippers are like the weirdest team to kind of like pinpoint because I can't tell if they've had a good season or like a really bad season. And the reason why that is because remember how they started. Remember opening night getting blitzed by the Jazz, and that was like super alarming to everybody in the first week of the season. And then, I believe their record was like 4-14 at one point, playing horrible basketball. And then out of nowhere, they just started to figure it out. And they started playing better, starting creeping back up into the Western Conference standings. And then, shock of probably, other than Jaren Jackson Jr. getting traded, the next most shocking trade had to have been James Harden going to the Cavaliers. And then Zubac going to the Pacers. So it was so weird that they did that, and you thought, okay, they must be tanking or they just don't believe in this roster or this team, and that Kawhi would be traded and so on and so forth. None of those things happened, and the Clippers have still played really good ball. And Kawhi Leonard is second team All NBA. Like, he's played great all season, and yeah, right now they're in the play-in. They weren't never going to get back into the top 6. But the fact that they're going to have a chance to make it to the playoffs after the start that they had and all the trades they made, I would kind of say they're playing with house money. I mean, I don't know. You guys tell me what you think, but I look at the Clippers. I kind of think they're a successful season the way they've been going. I maybe I'm in the minority of that, but that's how I feel. And with all due respect to the Blazers and the Warriors, I don't think either one of you are going to make the playoffs this year through the play-in or what have you. Glad to see Steph's coming back on Sunday. Again, you guys seen this on Monday, would have seen how that game turned out. Denny Avdia hasn't really played that great since the All-Star break. For Portland, hey, man, get into the playoffs. Who cares? Warriors, I mean, probably should just shut Steph down and just go to bed. Let's go through the Eastern Conference. Probably the more fun conference, and I think has the most interesting storylines for each team. Most pressure going into it for the Detroit Pistons. The Pistons, to me, the pressure is going to lie with JB Bickerstaff. And the reason why that is because, at least in my opinion, you flamed out with the Cavaliers. Now you have this great team with the Pistons. Yeah, Cade's hurt, and I understand that. I'm pretty confident that Cade will come back in the first round, given the fact that all those top 6 teams have a week off before the playoffs. I think he'll come back. It'll take some time for him to get into rhythm. Now it depends on their matchup and how well he's able to adjust. If it's Charlotte, good luck, my brother. If you got to breathe and run around with that team, that sucks. But I think the pressure is going to lie with JB Bickerstaff to show that he is the coach to lead this team to the promised land, because you have such a great start. You cleared the Eastern Conference weeks ago, and now playing well and coaching this team well as Cade is starting to recover from this collapsed lung. So to me, I would say You can't lose to the Cavaliers. You can't lose to the Hawks. You really can't lose to any of these other teams. I know the Hornets are going to be in there, teams like that. You can't lose. You got to make it to the conference finals. Like you got to. And if you don't, I think there's going to be some questions about JB Bickerstaff and also Trajan Langdon, who never got a shooter, a viable shooter creator next to Cade during the trade deadline when you had the opportunity to. Now, with that being said, shout out to Dennis Jenkins. He's been playing great. So maybe they've already found it and they had it and they didn't believe that they needed to go out there and get one. But the playoffs will show you what every team is and what they're not. Next up, the Boston Celtics. I think I think the Celtics are playing with house money. I don't think it really truly matters what happens. I think anything short of losing in the first round will be acceptable. If you lose in the second round to the Knicks or Philadelphia, as we're again sitting right now on Friday, is the sixth seed. You lose to if you lose to the Knicks, it's not bad. If you lose to the Sixers, we might have a different conversation. But the excuse is already built in. The second that Tatum touched the floor, the excuse was built in. The second that Tatum tore his Achilles back in New York last year, the excuse was built in, no matter what happened this season. So I don't think the Celtics really have anything to. Hey, you want to make it to the finals? Great. You think you can win a championship? Fine. You make it to the conference finals? Great. Like you guys have a team of a roster that nobody believed in and was able to get to the second seed, win in 52 games. You got a chance at 55 wins with the season that you've had. Jalen Brown's ascended. Like it's been cake this entire season. I don't think it's a disappointment if they lose in the second round or if they lose in the conference finals. You've had a fantastic season. It's been probably the best story in basketball. And I don't think there's anything for Missoula's probably going to be coach of the year. I mean, hell, can you give Tatum comeback player of the year? I don't think that's even an award, but can we make one up? Like, it's everything has been roses for the Celtics. It doesn't matter what happens. And then next is my New York Knicks. I think the Knicks, pressure wise, it's gonna land on two people. Leon Rose, obviously for the Mikal Bridges trade, which as a Knicks fan, I am so tired of talking about, but it comes up every single time he doesn't have a good game. They just completely obliterated the Bulls, and he played fine. And I bet you it would still be a topic of conversation online. But Leon Rose is going to face some flack when you had an opportunity to get Giannis during the season or during the summer. And then I think sneakily, the next person that could get maybe the most loud or the loudest English, the loudest heat and the loudest noise is Jalen Brunson. This is the time that Jalen Brunson needs to take over and needs to get this team to the finals at least. Because I think with Cat struggling, with the Mikal Bridges stuff looming over the Knicks front office and their coach and all of that, if Jalen Brunson cannot score well, pass well, I think is more importantly to most of the guys on this team. If he's not moving the ball and we're stuck back in ISO Brunson mode and they lose to the Celtics, if they lose to the Sixers in the first round, if you lose in the conference finals again, like it's just gonna build up and build up. And that shine that is already built for Jalen Brunson on that statue that he will have outside of Madison Square Garden if they win a championship, the shine that he has from Knicks fans, I think will start to wear thin. And I think the city could possibly turn on them if they don't win or if they go out in a bad way, a sweep or something like that. This is a make or break season for this team. It's not by any means saying that their window would be closed if they lose going into next year, but I think the task of winning a championship then becomes extremely daunting and the loudest criticism that Jalen Brunson has ever faced since being in New York. Next up, the Cleveland Cavaliers. I mean, is it fair to say, and it's my show, I can say whatever I want. The entire team, the entire roster, pressure. James Harden, Donovan Mitchell, I mean, Jared Allen, Evan Mobley, like everybody, every single human being on this team has pressure on them. You made the trade for Darius or traded away Darius Garland for James Harden for this exact reason, to get him to the playoffs with a healthier team, and they're still not really that healthy. Jared Allen just came back. He's looked great when he's been with Harden. You know, Donovan Mitchell's been in and out here and there, but he's back now. Evan Mobley, same thing. So, and look, and we know the playoff woes of this franchise and of this team and this core of late, minus Harden. And Harden individually has had horrible playoffs and things like that. So I think the pressure lies on all of them. And if they run into an Atlanta, a Philadelphia, I would be very curious on how that series goes and how they look, because despite having one of the easier records after the All-Star break, they have played fine. They've played okay. They haven't really got off and just taken over. I thought we would be talking about the Cavaliers as the second seed once I saw their schedule after the All-Star break, and it just hasn't happened. The Knicks and the Celtics have been able to hold them off, and but despite the injuries and the new players coming in, it's tough to try to come into a playoff series and win a series when this team has really not been together that much. And you're introducing Struce back into the lineup. It's just a lot of things going on with this team. And I, the entire team has pressure. The Atlanta Hawks, who have played fantastic since the All Star break, um, house money. This is a house money team, easy. You trade Trey Young. You had one of the off seasons that people like myself were on here yapping, talking about how they've had one of the best off seasons, and they're going to make a big playoff push, and then you see them fall in the bottom of the standings. They trade away Trey Young. You think it's over, and then CJ McCollum. Shout out to CJ McCollum having a great bounce back season, and the Hawks are now flying high, pun intended, and they're the fifth seed. Now they could still get up to the fourth seed. I think they're probably on the outskirts of that, but they have solidified as we're going to be a top six team. I don't think there's anything wrong if they lose in the first round. Hey, you win, you force a 7-game series against the Cavaliers, you've won. Next up, one of my favorite teams to talk about, the Philadelphia 76ers, who've had everything happened to them in 1 year. We got PED Paul is getting suspended for 25 games, and Embiid is back here with the injuries. Maxi's playing 1,000 minutes a game. Edgecombe is looking great. It's just so many things go on with this team. I would say the pressure's on Nick Nurse. This is probably your most talented roster from top to bottom, I would argue. Yes, you've had to deal with injuries. Yes, you've had a lot to deal with over your career. Somebody send Nick Nurse a bottle of the best bourbon. I don't know what he drinks, but he needs a drink after every single game or every single press conference for this team. I swear. But for the Sixers, I think the pressure's on Nick Nurse. You got to get at least out of the first round. Whether that's against the Knicks, whether that's against the Celtics, whether you creep up into the fifth spot and you got to take on the Cavaliers. I think that is still going to be the expectation. And also, actually, you know what? I'm going to change my answer on the fly. I'm going to say Daryl Morey. Daryl Morey has a lot to answer for trading away Jared McCain. And I think he would actually be the one to face the consequences if they fizzle out in the first round against any of the teams that are ahead of them. Now, would that still kind of result in Nick Nurse possibly getting fired? Probably. But Daryl Morey has to look crazy for doing some of the deals that he's done, trading Jared McCain to the Thunder. And if this team flames out again and you still have to deal with Embiid and you still got to deal with Paul George and his stuff, the Paul George contract is bad. I mean, there's just so many things that Daryl Morey has done that I just don't think, especially those fans in Philly, are gonna let him live for. So the pressure's on Daryl Morey. Obviously, he can't do anything about it from a coaching standpoint, obviously, but he better have put together a decent enough roster to at least get out of the first round. Another house money team to me has to be the Toronto Raptors. Listen, I know they were a fifth seed at one point, and they have struggled. I have never loved this roster. I think this roster construction is bad, but that's Masai Ujiri, who's gone now. So you can't really do anything about a GM standpoint. I think coaching wise, again, they were out of the playoffs last year, out of the playoffs for the last couple of years. To get back into it, even if you have to go through the play-in, it stinks that you lost all these games in the second half. But again, you're in the mix. So I think that will take the pressure off of their entire franchise, the coach, GM, players, and whatnot. But it's going to put some pressure on them, at least in the offseason, to build off of this and to make this roster better, because I've never loved this roster, this construction, the way they play. It's something about it that I'm just not feeling. Not enough jump shooting, just a lot of nasty work. But the Raptors are here. They made it back to the playoffs. I think that's enough to be celebrated, and then we can move on. And then lastly has to be the Charlotte Hornets, and I'm cheaping out. It's another house money team. What can you say about the Charlotte Hornets? They've been fantastic. You make it to the playoffs, you put up a good fight against Detroit, maybe, or maybe you get to the seventh seed and you put up a good fight against Boston. Maybe you knock one of them out. Who knows? I don't know. But no matter what you do, the Hornets are back in the playoffs. There's nothing else to be asked of them to do. They've done the job. They've gotten themselves back into relevancy. That's all that matters. So shout out to the Charlotte Hornets. Shout out to LaMelo Ball, who I've criticized for years, and he's helped this team get back into a playoff mode. Hopefully, he does not have another stinker in the play-in like he has done 2 years in a row at one point. I think the Hornets can do no wrong at this point, and hopefully in the offseason they can make some really good moves. And again, no disrespect to the last two teams. I don't think you're making the playoffs, although the Orlando Magic and the Miami Heat. Just good luck next year. All right, so before I go, I touched on the Luka thing, on the Luka injury. Again, he's going to be out for uh, about a month or so. Probably reevaluated in 4 weeks. Stinks for the Lakers. I actually think the Lakers should probably just rest LeBron and rest AR for the remainder of the 5 games they have left. See if you can drop down to the 4 seed and take on Houston still, and maybe you still got a shot. Who wouldn't love to see LeBron versus KD probably for the last time in their careers? I think that would be super dope. But I mean, if you're the Lakers, you're just trying to get the easiest opponent you can so you can get out of the first round, and hopefully that Luka can come back before the second round starts, or maybe a game or two in, but you at least get him back to give yourself a shot. But it sucks for the Lakers, sucks for Luka. He's been having a great season. Who has to now advocate for himself to still be approved after the 65 game rule. So we'll see how that goes for him. And then the last thing I wanted to talk about, and I really don't want to talk about it, but Shams put out a tweet about I believe it was the Players Association. I could be wrong. I'll put the tweet up here, but basically Giannis, or the league is investigating. That's what it was. The league is investigating the Bucks for not playing Giannis, essentially. And Giannis reached out to the media and saying he wants to fucking play, and they're not letting me fucking play, and blah blah blah. This whole thing, and we talked about it before on another episode with myself and Maycow. Um, this whole thing with the Bucks has seemed so ridiculous in so many different ways, and I'm so sick and tired of talking about Giannis, but he just keeps coming back in the news, and they're talking about the relationship with the team and all this other stuff. And I honestly think that the relationship has always been bad this year, at least, has been bad. I mean, you remember early in the season before the year started, when the owner of the Bucks said he had a great conversation with Giannis, and Giannis was asked about it by the reporters, and I had no idea that conversation even happened, is what Giannis said. So that's already not a good sign. But I'm tired of talking about this dude and this issue, and I feel like this is just another cheap way for Giannis to scapegoat himself and say, it wasn't me, guys. I was trying to play. I was trying to do the right thing. You guys want to start at plays. I want to play. And this is the reason why I got to go. Not because I don't want to be in Milwaukee, but because the relationship that I have with the Bucks is not good anymore. And the thing is, Giannis isn't dumb. This roster was horrible. And the projections for this roster going forward are bad. And yes, they have their own pick this year. We'll see where that lands. But they don't have anything. There's no foundation for Giannis to build a championship team out of this, or hell, barely a playoff team. So I just wish Giannis would just say, look, I just don't want to be here anymore, because we've gone through the saga for like 5 months of a will he, won't he, and a back and forth between the Bucks. And then Doc Rivers is saying that, everything's fine, and it's not actually fine. And Shams is sending out tweets, and his brother is doing this, and blah, 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 blah. It's just, dude, just say I don't want to be here no more. And that's it. We could just move on. It has been just so mind-numbingly annoying that we keep getting back here. I thought 5 games left in the season. The Bucks season has well been over. Giannis had already said he wanted to play. That was like 2 or 3 weeks ago. Once we got past that and we're almost at the end of the season, why are you coming back up talking about you want to play the last 5 games? For what? For what possible reason could you want to play? And so I'm convinced. It's for saving space, saving whatever you call it. I don't even know. You, brother, your jersey's gonna get retired. You're gonna get the statue. You're gonna get all the things. You don't need to pander to the fans and be like, "Look, guys, I want to play." Like, you don't have to do all of that. I think Bucks fans, I don't know any personally, but I'm assuming that they're all smart, well-educated basketball people, that they understand what the writing is on the wall. They know that you gotta go, and they know they can't build without moving you and getting new pieces and things like that. They know that. So why are we doing this? It's just one of those ugly divorces of a franchise like all-time player leaving the team that he was drafted on. I mean, this is what KG was never this bad, but it's a KG situation. Like, we as the league and as the fans of the league want Giannis to save himself. Like, get out of there. And it's not even an indictment against Milwaukee. They've done plenty to try to get you help and get you teammates to to try to get to the playoffs, try to make a run for the finals. They've done everything they can. They are just squeezed of every asset they possibly have to do that for you anymore. And the fact that you're still asking for it as if it's possible is nonsense to me. Giannis is still a top 5, top 6 player in the league by far, and it was having a great season when before he got hurt. He's going to be asked. The price is going to be high. He's going to have suitors all over the place. I don't think he wants to go. I think he knows he has to go, and I think the Bucks know they got to move on. But we keep doing this song and dance, and it's just honestly, bro. I hope to God he does not ruin the playoffs by doing more shit like this because I'm done with it. Let's talk in June. Let's talk when the finals are over, and then we'll talk about the Giannis trade. Otherwise, I'm done with it. All right, but that's it. Thank you guys so much for joining me. If you watched this video, if you got this far, I appreciate it. Again, my name is Darnell. I shoot a weekly podcast with my partner, Mancow. Couldn't do it this week, Easter Sunday, you know what I'm saying, with the family. Hope you're enjoying your Easter. Hope you enjoyed your Easter when you're watching this on Monday. Yeah, that's it. I don't know. Solo wise, I don't know how to end this. So I'm out.